Hi, welcome. I'm Erin, and I'm here talking today with a friend of mine, Jessi Keenan. And I met Jessi first about 6 years ago through Twin Peaks viewing parties. I think that's how we met.
Yep, yep. We even we did the Idlewild night.
Yeah, that's right. We a
You
bunch
remember that?
bunch of hardcore Twin Peaks fans. We went and rented a cabins out in Idlewild, California, and watched when Agent Cooper finally remembers who he is. And
Yes,
very exciting weekend.
it was. And they served us cherry pie.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so we met through the Twin Peaks community, and I've been following you, Jessi, now for the last few years, and I'm always super impressed and blown away by your dedication to activism and to helping people. And I know you're a talented actor, singer, and voiceover actress, and even was a singer and performer at Disney World for a while. And is that what brought you to Los Angeles initially?
Yeah, it was because, I grew up in a town called Ankeny, Iowa. It's just outside Des Moines. And when I was 12, I was on Star Search. And how I got on there is I sent in a little cassette tape, like seriously, and then I got a phone call. Um, wasn't mean, that was a bigger deal than anything in my family had ever experienced. And I was the first person in Iowa to be on Star Search. So it was kind of a thing for me, like, oh, I can sing. Okay. And they want me to keep singing. So, and then, sang for the national anthem for the Cubs and the Padres. And so that was kind of my childhood as a singer. And then when I was 18, I moved to Los Angeles. Um, Started singing for Disney and was Aaron Carter's backup singer. I did TV, film, and have done a lot of things in the entertainment industry throughout my career. Um, Living out here in Los Angeles, you a lot of people leave. A lot of people stay for 6 months and leave. It's tough. It's tough. So you have to have all kinds of part-time jobs. You got to gig a lot. I've had many jobs in my life, doing things in between the acting and singing gigs. So, I was in online marketing. I worked as a waitress for like 6 years, delivered food. You sort of do everything in between the gigs that builds up your resume, and then you're being asked to do stuff. So, yeah, so I was a singer and an actress, and now a voice actress for video games and animation. So that's what I do, audition for all the time. And, you book once in a while and then you don't.
Yeah.
So during COVID, I was teaching voice actors pretty much full time for a company and also doing video games. And because I was alone in my apartment, I decided in 2020 to take my Honda Civic and cross the country and help out and see what was going on. I wanted to attend the protests. I wanted to learn a lot more, figure out what I believe, the choices that I think are the best for myself and for others, you know. So after coming back across the country, I said, well, I'm going to help out in my neighborhood. So I went to the street just 1 block north, and it happened to be a homeless encampment. That's where I got my training, was literally picking up a broom and going out there and with trash bags and an orange cooler with ice water. All across the country, I was noticing whenever I would give someone ice water, they were like, "Oh my God, thank you." Right? Everybody. That was across the board. So I thought that that would be my focus as a one woman nonprofit. I can bring you ice water. Um, I started getting sponsorships from ICE, from Glacier, from meaning product sponsorships, and so I had product to distribute. Then had a couple donors donate some money, so I was able to pay my own gas because I mean, everything costs, gas, labor. I mean, you can do this for so many years and then you're just depleted, right? So that's why I started the nonprofit. That way I'm able to get grants. I'm able to get, have a separate bank account where everything for Intercooler Project goes in there, and then my own job is separate. So it helps me psychologically to have a nonprofit. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
'Cause-
Because
yeah,
it's
because you're
important to be of service to people. And I think, we all want to help other people, but it's not always possible. But that creates a channel that, like you said, people are giving you products, people are donating, and that enables you to be of service to more people, and which is, very needed. I left Los Angeles in 2000, early 2019, but actually 2018 is when I kind of first left, and then I just came back to get my stuff and moved back to Iowa, not too far from where you're from. But
yeah,
it was before, COVID, and there were a lot of homeless camps that, like in Echo Park Lake, for example. I was not living in Los Angeles at the time, but I was watching, there was a lot of controversy around that, and a lot of people becoming homeless, not just because of the pandemic, but even in Seattle, where I'm from, also. It's always been an issue. And even myself, I left home when I was 15, 16, and ended up living on the streets for a few years. So I've been on that side of it, where it's like you don't have anything, and you are dependent on people giving you like a quarter or a dollar or something to get food and access to basic things like water. Like you're saying, it's something that we take for granted, and it's like the basis of life. It's, if we don't have water and food, it's very hard to just survive as a human. And those little things can make a really big difference, because even a lot of restrooms or places where people could get water are not always accessible to people, just coming in off the
in fact,
streets.
the one right here, they took out the old one, came in and reinstalled a new one, and it's always locked. So, that's another thing that I have to go to the mayor and say, hey, look, look what's going on. Because what happens is underneath her, we have a new mayor, Mayor Bass, and underneath her, there's two different umbrella programs. There's LASA, and then there's HACLA. I don't want to get that wrong, but it's the other program. And unfortunately, those two do not communicate. There's a lot of internal turmoil going on within City Hall and the programs that have been developed by the city, including LASA. During COVID, I witnessed LASA specifically, and I say their name specifically because it's been out in the LA Times about all the money that's been mishandled. It never made it down to the streets during COVID. The only thing that was being paid for were the salaries of the loss of people to show up and then just leave. They didn't give housing. Um, some of them would get paperwork to the homeless. The paperwork was a stack like this. I wouldn't even be able to fill it out. Now
Is
try
it
somebody in your right mind. They need specifically someone. Their caseworkers wouldn't. They wouldn't hear from their caseworkers for 3 to 6 months. And these are people downtown, and these are also people in the valley. So this isn't just a one area thing.
Mhm. And is this
Um,
paperwork for them to get assistance or housing, or just to track who
paperwork,
they are and where they are?
paperwork, just pretty much well to get them in the system, right? And then they're told that they're going to get housing, but then a year later happens, and they're still sweating on the street, right? And these aren't only. Some people say, well, are they on drugs? Are they da da da? Yeah, half of them are. You know why? Because now when you go to the hospital, they only give you 800 milligram from ibuprofen, even if your foot is falling off. That's if you've had a history of drug abuse, that's the only thing they'll give you. I am in that situation. I'm not allowed to be given painkillers. I've never asked for them. I don't want them. But think about all the people on the streets that turn to meth because their doctors will not give them anything for it's a big problem that I am specifically seeing on the street right now. Um, how do they get themselves into these positions? Well, like you said, you came on hard times. you were on the street, or you're possibly a foster child, possibly it's a horrible home situation. There's lots of things that can happen. I made a list of about 35 different types of homeless people that I've seen on the street out here in LA direct. And I think if more people look at that list, then they'll be less quick to judge.
Well, it's like you said, also coming to Los Angeles and having to work multiple part-time jobs, in between gigs. And it's not like living in Los Angeles is getting easier and cheaper. It's completely priced me out of the even possibility to move back there anytime soon. But it's, most people are living like barely paycheck to paycheck. And it's, it doesn't take much to think of losing it all if you don't have like a family support or backup system or, savings somehow.
And depending on your mental, you can be a Kardashian living in Beverly Hills. And if you lose all your money mentally, you might be suicidal,
Mhm.
so that'll send you to the street. I've got a couple people out here. One has gold medals from the Olympics. A couple celebrities. There's all kinds of different people out there, and it's not necessarily because they're poor. It's a lot of it is mostly, but some of it is they lost everything. They lost everything. I think that the core root of houselessness is not um, the housing system. Honestly, I think it's loneliness. Loneliness comes first, and then I think the housing system comes second. Because the apartment next door is double the price of what I pay, and that's only in 7 years. I don't get double the income that I got 7 years ago, and that's what the rest of the country is going. So,
Yeah.
until that changes, nothing is going to change except for we can get more people to help support people that are living on the streets. And not, and I've always been very careful of nonprofits and organizations that have gotten too large to do what they originally came here to do. I'm seeing that in the Valley. I'm seeing that all over LA. There are nonprofits here that one of them got over 100 million in the last couple of years. And I have not seen them on the street doing mutual aid once. Here's what happens is they change their mindset to housing because it makes them money.
Mhm.
They build houses, they can get a cut of that. That's millions, right? They've forgotten about their handing out a burger. They forgot about that out here. The only people doing that in the city are mutual aids and nonprofits. Urban Alchemy is supposed to be the city sort of liaison right now. I love what they do for Skid Row. Um, However, I have not seen anybody.
Oh, in the valley. Yeah, you cut out just there. So I didn't realize, I think maybe 2 years ago or something, I started seeing you post about orange coolers, and I didn't realize that it was like just your project that you were, I thought it was like you were participating in a bigger project. And this is
Oh,
just,
cool.
you're just like, I'm gonna give people water. And now, I didn't realize that it was your nonprofit and that you were just doing it. And that's so impressive. I have seen a lot of people that I know in Hollywood and, different actors and people getting involved with programs with Skid Row and bringing food and, like bringing sandwiches and meals to Skid Row. But yeah, I literally thought that you were like, that this was some other project and you were just volunteering or participating. And then, I realized, oh, this is you just going out there and doing it without anyone like telling you or asking you to do. You're just seeing a need and fulfilling it with something as simple as water, which is really brilliant. But I know your background's blurred out, but I know I've been seeing other photos recently. You have a lot of products and supplies that you're now providing as well that are getting donated, right?
Yep. And donations are needed for storage now because my apartment is too small and there's literally boxes stacked to the ceiling. And so now my next project is going to be to find a storage unit around here that's inexpensive enough to afford.
Or
You
somebody's
know what I mean?
garage or somebody something.
Yeah, totally, totally. So I'll start talking to people around here and finding out because I do live in a neighborhood with a lot of lockout units. So it might actually be perfect to rent over there on Etna.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So
But that becomes
how do people donate products to you? Do you seek out the donations or do they find you or both?
crazy. I both. With Bombas socks, which are the really nice socks that everybody loves. That's their whole thing is that buy a pair and then they get handed out. Uh, the Good Karma, which is another awesome new nonprofit here in here in the Valley. Um, they give us the Bombas socks because they're direct from Bombas. So I'm direct now with Plan B. So I'm the contact person for Plan B. So all the other nonprofits can reach out to get Plan B for me for free. Um, Normally they're like $60, 50 or $60 in the store. So that saves a lot of women. I just applied for the menstrual products from that company, and uh, I should get approved, and that should happen in the next couple of days. Let's see what other product. Ice. I just literally went to the ice warehouse and I talked to them for a while and I said, look, there's a lot of homeless people around here. I'd like to keep them cool and not die like they have been over the past few years during the summer. So they were nice enough to give us ice. Water's a cost, but it's cheaper out of you get it from those machines because the valley water wasn't, I don't really trust it anymore. Um, And then that's product. And then like a friend of mine will send me a link saying, hey, this is where nonprofits can apply to get this. And so, yeah, friends will say, hey, Jess, you should apply for this. As far as grants, I've gotten a grant from the city, two grants now from the city of Van Nuys. So, because that's who I'm really serving. Um, Getting a grant from the Skid Row neighborhood will be harder because there's a lot more competition, obviously. Because there's a lot of people on Skid Row. But we've made it a huge difference on Skid Row without any money. Believe it or not, this is before we had any kind of money to buy products with. I was putting um lemonade and the orange coolers on a credit card. I just did it. I was like, I'm gonna do this. The orange cooler project itself cost $2,000 to start. I used money from a Postmates settlement. So everything has literally been, all right, let's hope this works. And, let's hope that check comes through for reimbursement because if not, I'm screwed, that kind of thing. So that's what it's like when you're starting something like this. But I have a passion for it. I love taking care of people. I've I've already done this sort of star thing, with Star Search, and I'm a voice actor, and so that part of my heart is satisfied, thank God. Um, and I enjoy doing this every day now. So, yeah.
Yeah, I would imagine it's I mean, it always feels good to help people. And I think I know for myself, like I definitely get in the mindset of like, well, I can barely feed myself right now. How am I going to also be of service to somebody else or to give somebody something, that I'm struggling for? And even now, like I recently quit my job, but then I remember, and I know my experience from being homeless was anyone else that was homeless, like if they had anything, they would share it with you. And you see this on social media all the time, people go around and I kind of it, on one hand, it really annoys me, when people like do the whole thing like, oh, I'm gonna see if this person will give me money, and then if they give me money, I'm gonna reward them. It's like it's a, it's a test of people's willingness to give, and it's
Yeah,
beautiful. It's, even though like I can't complain that it's for like views or anything like that, because it's a beautiful act, really, to give more. I would like to see this be, and it already is like a, kind of a social media trend to
yeah,
provide.
yeah. Well, it starts in your own neighborhood because it starts with just going out and not being afraid. There are people out there to be afraid of, yes, but in these encampments, they're in encampments to protect each other. That's why they do it. So, so if you just go to an encampment and just introduce yourself like a normal person and say, "Hi, what can I do for you?" I've got some water. I've got some food. They may ask you for a tent and say, sorry, it's not in my budget, but I'll definitely keep an eye out, a lookout. Chances are a tent will show up, you know. Because it's when people start taking care of each other without the mighty like pen having to do everything, which is what keeps everything held up in the government, unfortunately. Like,
Mhm.
oh, we need food. Okay, we can get that for you after we do it through legal. Everything gets stopped in legal. So that's why there needs to be things like the Orange Cooler Project. Good Karma is another great one out there.
What is it?
City Hall Sessions is downtown on Skid Row, and they've been there every Friday. And these aren't people who have much, you know. What I'm looking for is for the nonprofits that have been around for a while. They seem to be focused on housing, but don't forget about the people on the streets because
Mhm.
they're
The
brand new
immediate
over there.
needs, like what am I going to have for lunch today? What am I going to be eating
Yes,
today?
yes,
Yeah.
yes, yeah. Because the city's already proven that um, they don't want to send out the mental health department. Yes, there is a team now supposedly with Inside Safe, but one team for an entire city of, you know, that's a lot.
Yeah.
But hopefully with the new mayor, things will move along faster if that's a good thing to do. Yeah,
What were
but
the two organizations that you just, was it Good Karma? You kind of cut out when you said the two organizations.
yeah, yeah. The Good Karma, um, he's a firefighter here in LA, and he is doing this with his father because his father is sick, and so he wants his father a reason to keep going. So that's why he does that. Just there's a lot of good small nonprofits, or mutual aid. A lot of times people don't want to go the nonprofit route because of all the paperwork and all the hoops you got to jump through, and sometimes to get help or get attention. Um, and also, what I would say is just do the work. Pick up a broom, go out there to your local neighborhood and offer and say, what can I do to help you? Because that's the best thing. I get this from Johnny Wright. He's an entertainment manager, started NSYNC and all that kind of stuff. He spoke at Aaron Carter's memorial about addiction. And what he said was, ask, how can I help you? That's that's what you can do. Don't judge them. Don't say, oh, you smoke meth. This person might have a broken spine and they're not, they can't get pain meds. They're going to be in the corner crying. So until we learn to give these people the respect that they deserve as human beings, um, then it's going to get worse. So I say we start now and we support small nonprofits like myself, like the Good Karma, like the ones in your local neighborhood. Make sure that your money is going to where it's supposed to.
Yeah. And do you have a website for Orange Cooler Project?
Well, I'll give you the Cash App, the Orange Cooler Project. And then I think Venmo's the same, the Orange Cooler. And then the website is orangecoolerproject.org.
Great. Yeah, I'll put those all up and in the descriptions as well. One thing you didn't mention in your career bio is that you were also an Easter bunny, a singing Easter bunny.
So I did the voice for this because I do voiceovers. So my mom got to go to Walmart and find that in the Easter section. It was kind of the coolest job ever.
It is kind of like one of the coolest things. Like, yeah, I know the person that voiced that bunny. It's
More
very
to come.
cute.
More to come.
Good.
Erin, I hope to see you soon. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.